Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Jody Lewis, and I am going to be the publicist for the family. Today, we have the family attorney, Darryl Washington, as well as the family of Miya behind me, and they're going to speak about how they're feeling right now. We will take questions afterwards, brief questions, and I'm going to bring on Kaylee, who is the cousin of Miya, first.
Hi everybody, I'm Kaylee Sue, Mia's older cousin, and this is Mia's family. It's a very small representation of everyone who considers Mia family and who is our family. We have family as we have her great grandma that's all the way from Virgin Islands, and we have family visiting from Trinidad, from New York, from Canada, from all over Florida. Anyone that could find their way here is here to represent and was here to help us search for Mia. As a family, we'd like to thank everyone for the support and for helping us in this search, and whether you were physically present or just sharing information. I had people who reached out that were not in the area but knew the area better than we do. We're not from Orlando. They would reach out with little tips and I heard this and have you checked here. All of that was greatly appreciated, and now we're just focused on making sure that we get justice for Mia.
Good evening. I'm Darryl Washington. I'm the family attorney. First of all, on behalf of the family, we would just like to thank the entire community for coming forward in this very unified effort. This has been an extremely difficult time for the family, as you can imagine. As we discuss, death is something that is very difficult. But what makes death even more difficult is when it's death that could have been prevented. And in this situation, this was a preventable death. And this is what makes it very difficult for the family. We've had the opportunity to talk to young girls who are college students, young girls who are tenants at the Art and Villas apartment. And people are living in fear because what happened to Mia could have easily happened to one of them. And it's very awful that we have a complex that did not take the proper precautions to assure that this young lady was safe. When her parents allowed her to stay in that apartment complex, she was staying there because we thought this was one of the best. The families thought that this was a complex that you can live in and feel protected. And now we're learning so many different things. We're learning that there weren't even security cameras in a number of places at this complex. So again, there is a lot of frustration, but there is just simply no way that this young man should have had access. And I'm calling him a young man, but he was a predator. He shouldn't have had access to Mia's apartment. And we believe that there was so much more that could have been done to prevent this. Sadly, there are young students who live at this apartment complex today who are passing around a petition because they're demanding that there be justice. They're demanding that there be some safety precaution taken at this apartment complex so that their lives are not taken the way Mia lost her life. So again, we want to thank everybody who came out and helped in the effort, but this has been a very difficult time for the family. As you can imagine, when you turn around and you see this family, this is not everyone. So when they took Mia's life, they also took a piece away from this family that they can never ever recover. And we just hope that after the day that there's not another family that has to deal with what this family is currently dealing with. So we're going to take a few questions now.
Are you currently filing a lawsuit against the apartment complex? And if so, what is the lawsuit asking for in it?
There's not been a lawsuit that has been filed at the current moment, but I will tell you that the family is currently looking at every legal remedy that is available to them. We do believe that there was negligence that took place. There was negligent entrustment. There was negligent hiring. So there is some liability on the part of this apartment complex. And again, we feel that had this apartment complex taken the proper steps, this person should have not even been employed at that apartment complex.
Attorney Washington, have you had any conversations with the complex, and if so, what has those conversations been like?
To be quite honest with you, it's been very disappointing because Mia was not only a tenant at this apartment complex, but she was an employee. This apartment complex has not reached out to the family. to offer their condolences. This apartment complex have not talked to the family. In fact, this apartment complex have been extremely difficult with the family getting answers. So it's been really disappointing the way this apartment complex has handled this.
And specifically, you mentioned the gate, you mentioned the lights, but any more specifics on the negligence that you're claiming for the complex?
Well, when you just do just a quick background search on the person that had the key fob, you will find that there are some hits. There are some things that this person has been involved in. So if this apartment complex is going to entrust someone like that with the key fob that gives him open access to somebody's apartment, that's very problematic.
Has such audio villas provided you with information on how they do background checks when they hire employees?
Once again, they have not provided us with anything. We've requested that. The family has tried to talk to the Arden Villa. They have not want to talk at all.
I have a question for you, if you don't mind speaking to it. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry to you and your family.
Thank you.
What is, pursuing legal action against this apartment complex? How is that going to help your family's justice and help others at the apartment complex as well?
As he mentioned, there have been a lot of different parties that have reached out and mentioned not feeling safe living there anymore. And of course, we wanted to, our goal was, of course, to find Miya home, bring her home and bring her safe. But if we could make the place where she lived safe for everyone, that would be the end goal. There are so many students and other tenants that came forward and shared their stories about maybe their interactions with maintenance workers that made them feel uncomfortable, or just in general not feeling safe anymore. We had vigils in the evening while we were looking for her, and sometimes there would be tenants that came up and said, I just don't feel safe here. And I'd say, okay, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find one of our cousins to walk you home. There were so many family members there that were willing for us to make them feel safe. So they should feel safe all of the time. You shouldn't feel unsafe where you live. That's supposed to be everyone's safe space. When you don't feel safe somewhere, you're supposed to be able to say, I'm going to go home, wrap myself up in a blanket and feel okay. And that's just not acceptable.
I have a question for Attorney Washington again. You said that the apartment complex really hasn't been responsive to you, to the family. So what would you say is the next step if they continue to not respond to the things that you guys are asking of them?
Legally, they won't have a choice but to respond to us. We've tried to talk to the apartment complex. What's so disheartening, if you look at, there are a number of articles where you see the apartment complex already trying to be defensive, where they said that they conducted the proper background step. They are even coming out and saying that they're changing policy. So the fact now that they are implementing new policies already tells you that there was an issue. Otherwise, you wouldn't be implementing new policies if the policies that you had in place were there to protect the tenants.
When you say legally they won't have a choice, can you be a little bit more specific about what you mean?
And again, without getting into all of it, if this matter progresses on to a lawsuit, then there's going to be information that the court will require them to produce to us. So they're going to cooperate with us and give it to us, or legally they won't have a choice but to give it to us. And just to answer a question you mentioned earlier about how would this make a change, one of the things that the family is already talking about is starting a foundation in honor of Miya. And this is so very important, and that they are able to think about this, because what's so important to them is that they want to make sure that another parent never have to go through what they had to deal with for the last 7 to 8 days. You can't imagine what this family has to deal with. I mean, so it's been very difficult. There should be laws in place where family members are able to find out what's going on. You should not have to wait 24, 48, or 72 hours to get people to take this matter serious. And this is what they want to start with, the foundation and some type of laws that's going to make it easier. That's going to make it easier for other people if they ever have to experience something like this.
Do you mind talking more about the foundation?
There's no set plan as of right now. However, we will be creating a foundation in Miya's name, and it'll be depending on, of course, whatever our main goal, of course, is to raise awareness and safety in apartment complexes and in anywhere that anyone lives, especially when you're housing students and people who have families that care about them, which would be pretty much everyone. So we just want to make sure that we find, we'll solidify a message and create a foundation, and that'll be our goal.
Attorney Washington, from the conversations you've had with residents at Arden Villas, did you learn anything more about the suspect? Have they told you anything that bothered them about him or anything suspicious?
Well, without getting too much into it, there have been people who have had concerns about this same individual. So again, we do believe that management had notice of this, which is why I believe that they're not talking to us. But again, this person should have not had, and we're going to keep on reminding you all of this person should have not had that key fob. Based on that person's record, he should have not had that key fob in his possession whatsoever.
Haley, if you don't mind me asking one quick question. I mean, you all have been very strong this whole time. 7-8 days, very positive, I would say, for the most part. What's kept you so strong? Where did you go from here?
I think everyone being here together and supporting each other is what kept us so strong, because we were able to lift each other up when we started feeling any little bit of doubt. We're like, let's look for something else, look for another lead, or just as you would start to feel like things started to slow down. For me, it hit me every day around this time that the sun starts to set, it's going to get dark, we're going to be searching for her, it's going to be harder to find her in the dark. Orlando's not as developed as South Florida is, so there's not as much well-lit areas. So that would always get to me, and then I felt it on my own, and then I could start seeing it in other family members. So we started to lift each other up, and we did things like go out in the dark with flashlights, went to Walmart, bought flashlights, went with our phones with lights and coming together. But I think that was what kept us going. The support from the community, of course, reaching out and supporting us, and everyone giving us all of their positive thoughts, but mainly our energy here is what kept us going.
That's an expensive process too, to be able to do that. You were doing, what you needed to do at the time. But Armando's family has also, spoken out at some point. Are there any civil suits planned in the works?
Again, the family, we are looking at all the legal remedies that's available to the family, but obviously, and it's very clear that there was some negligence that was involved in this case. That's no secret. Again, we've always, I think everybody have known that this guy went into this apartment without permission, and the only way that he was able to get into that apartment without permission is that he had access to the key fob. But again, we said over and over that this apartment complex, Miya was an employee. The second that they found out that Miya was missing, they had the ability to find out if somebody went into her apartment. So this is not something that we should have found out a day or 2 days later. This is something that they could have found out in less than 30 minutes, which I think could have been very helpful, extremely helpful.
Is there anyone in the family who speaks Spanish who can give us an update?
Gabby?
Thank you.
La familia quiere justicia para Miya. Alguien tiene que hacer accountable for her life. Eso no acaba aquí. Nosotros queremos justicia, queremos cambio. Es bien duro.
Gaby, ¿podrías hablarnos sobre el anuncio que nos está haciendo hoy el abogado? ¿Qué está haciendo la familia en este momento legalmente para pedir justicia por Miya?
Representando a los otros. Y también que haga justicia. Alguien tiene que responder por esta vida.
We'll take one or two more questions if you.
Just one more question for you. ¿Cuáles son las iniciativas que están haciendo para el nombre de Miya?
Eso ya se lo dejamos al abogado para que ellos se tomen esa decisión. Ya las cosas están en sus manos. La familia va a trabajar ahora a buscar la justicia con el abogado, a buscar justicia para Miya.
Just one more question in English. You have this entire family surrounding you. What do you think that says about your family and about Miya and how much she was loved?
Her life cannot be taken in vain. One thing Miya taught us is to just love everybody.
That's okay. As you can tell, this has just been extremely difficult. We wanted to address you guys really quick. This is Mia's great-grandmother. She's here with us today. So This has been an extreme loss for the family. This was supposed to be this weekend coming and all week. This was supposed to be a time that this family was going to be celebrating with the carnival. This was a time that Miya looked forward to. And this was just totally stripped away from this family. So this was supposed to be a time when it's full of celebration and full of joy, but instead it's full of sorrow. And this is what makes it so difficult for this family to really process. But Miya was the person that really held this family to be so young. She was the person that held this family together. She was so outgoing. Everyone loved Miya. I mean, there was not a person who I've talked to who have not come in contact with her who did not instantly love her. That was just the type of person she was. She had the greatest smile. You look at the videos of her playing with her grandparents. I mean, all of that has been stripped away from her. And we say it all the time, parents are not supposed to bury their children. That's not supposed to happen. And because of this, and with the foundation that we've talked about, there need to be changes. There ought to be changes. And we're going to make sure through this family and through Miya's foundation, we're going to really make sure that another young girl is not going to have to deal with what Miya had to deal with ever again.